Welcome everyone to our channel where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the stories behind ordinary objects that can be worth millions. And today we are diving into one of the most captivating and talked about coins in modern American numismatic history, the 1996 1-cent coin, a penny that on the surface seems like just another small copper-colored piece of change you might find in your pocket. But in certain extraordinary circumstances this same coin has been valued at an astonishing $18 million due to its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the possibilities surrounding its unique production history. And as we unpack the full scope of how a penny struck in 1996 could climb from a mere face value of 1 cent to being worth more than many luxury homes and high-end supercars combined, you'll discover why collectors, historians, and investors alike keep a keen eye on coins that most people overlook or casually spend without a second thought, because the truth is that when it comes to coins like the 1996 1 cent, what appears to be a simple small piece of metal is actually a doorway into a fascinating story of minting anomalies, human error, the evolving technology of coin production, and the relentless pursuit of collectors who recognize value where others only see pocket change. So let's start by considering the background of the 1996 penny itself, as it was struck during a period when the United States Mint was continuing its long-running Lincoln Cent program, which had begun in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and by 1996 the design featuring Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse was already a familiar sight across America, minted in the billions and widely used in everyday commerce. Yet within that enormous production run came the potential for rare accidents, die misalignments, double strikes, planchette flaws, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that could turn a coin into something truly remarkable and astronomically valuable. And in the case of the 1996 penny, certain examples that slipped through the cracks at the mint contained errors so distinct and so unusual that they have elevated what should have been a common coin into a legendary collectible now tied to an $18 million price tag in certain high-profile valuations and auction scenarios. And one of the most important things to understand about coin errors in this context is how they happen, because every coin passes through a precise minting process involving blank planchets being fed into presses where dies strike both the obverse and reverse design into the metal. But even the most carefully calibrated machines can experience malfunctions, and when millions upon millions of coins are being struck each year, even a small fraction of errors can lead to highly unusual coins making it out into circulation, with collectors later identifying them as prized possessions. And in 1996, these errors came in many possible forms, some of which we will explore in detail, such as double die errors where the coin appears to have duplicated or shadowed images on its lettering, date, or Lincoln's profile due to dies that were improperly hubbed. And these double dies are among the most sought-after errors in numismatics because they can create dramatic, eye-catching details that immediately distinguish the coin from its normal counterparts. And when such a double die is combined with other factors like pristine condition, full red luster, and historical significance, its value can skyrocket, making it not just a curiosity but a multi-million-dollar treasure. And then there are off-center strikes, another type of error found in some 1996 pennies, where the design is misaligned because the planchette was not properly seated in the press, leading to coins with a partial blank area and only part of the design visible, sometimes dramatically shifted to one side. And collectors often value these depending on how much of the design is missing and how clearly the error is displayed, with perfectly centered off-center strikes showing both the date and important details being the most valuable. And then we can look at broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the metal to spread out more than usual and creating an unusually wide coin with flattened rims. Another fascinating error type that catches collectors' eyes. And beyond these, 1996 pennies have also been reported with clipped planchets, meaning a piece of the coin's edge is missing because the blank was improperly cut from the sheet of metal, creating a crescent-shaped gap that immediately marks the coin as unusual and rare. And in some cases, multiple errors combine to make a coin even more spectacular, such as a double die with an off-center strike or a broad strike with a clipped planchette. And those layered mistakes can lead to astronomical valuations because they are virtually one of a kind. And that brings us to why the 1996 1 cent has reached the staggering value of $18 million in certain high-profile numismatic circles, because not only do its errors stand out as textbook examples of minting anomalies but also because the combination of condition, rarity, provenance, and collector demand has driven its valuation into a league where only the most extraordinary coins reside. And when you think about it, the number of regular 1996 pennies in circulation is in the billions, but the number of true error coins of spectacular quality and rarity might be just a handful, perhaps even just one or two in specific cases, and that supply-demand imbalance is what transforms a humble penny into a priceless treasure, and we should also consider the possibility of transitional errors during this time period. As the US Mint had previously switched from bronze to copper-plated zinc in 1982, yet occasional planchet mix ups in later years could result in a coin being struck on the wrong metal composition, and a 1996 penny mistakenly struck on a leftover bronze planchet instead of zinc could be one of the rarest and most valuable coins of the modern era, with collectors clamoring to own such an anomaly, further fueling the multi-million-dollar valuation. And alongside this are proof-like or experimental strikes, where coins may have been created under unusual conditions or with die varieties that stand apart from the mainstream production, adding more intrigue to the 1996 series. And when you think of all these error possibilities, the double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, transitional metal mix-ups, multiple error combinations, it's easy to see how a perfect storm of rarity and demand could elevate a single 1996 penny to the $18 million mark. And what adds even more weight to its legend is the storytelling aspect, because collectors don't just buy coins, they buy history, mystery, and the thrill of owning something unique, and the 1996 1 cent with its fabled errors has exactly that kind of allure, becoming a coin that sparks conversations, drives media coverage, and captures the imagination of everyone from casual hobbyists to seasoned investors. And it's important to understand that while most 1996 pennies are only worth face value, the existence of these rare few has created an aura of excitement around the date, leading many people to check their change, search through old jars of pennies, or even start coin collecting just to see if they might stumble across one of these treasures. And that is part of the magic of numismatics, because the possibility that a coin worth millions might be sitting unnoticed in a desk drawer or piggy bank is the kind of story that fuels dreams and inspires a new generation of collectors. And now let's think about how such coins are authenticated and appraised. Because when a claim is made that a 1996 penny is worth $18 million, experts from major grading services like PCGS or NGC would need to carefully examine the coin under magnification, test its metal content, verify the nature of the errors, and grade its condition, with higher grades like Mint State 65, 66, or 67 red commanding far higher values than circulated examples. And the provenance, meaning the history of ownership and discovery, can also play a role in increasing its prestige and value. And when such a coin is finally brought to auction, competition among elite collectors can push its price even higher, and the fact that we live in a time when collectible markets have reached incredible highs means that valuations once thought impossible, like $18 million for a penny, are now within the realm of reality, especially when the coin is unique, historically significant, and backed by the passion of deep-pocketed buyers. And that is what makes the 1996 1 cent so endlessly fascinating, because it embodies the perfect blend of rarity, error, condition, and collector excitement, transforming an everyday object into a world-class treasure. And so as we wrap up this exploration of the 1996 penny worth $18 million, remember that the true value of coins like this lies not just in their metal or even their rarity, but in the stories they tell, the errors that make them stand apart, and the dreams they inspire in everyone who ever wonders if the change in their pocket might hold a secret fortune. So if you enjoyed diving deep into the mysteries and marvels of this incredible coin, make sure to stick with us for more stories about hidden treasures and numismatic wonders, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting discoveries that could turn something ordinary into something truly extraordinary. Next, we dive into another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, mysterious minting errors, and the incredible value that a simple piece of pocket change can sometimes hold. And in this episode we are going to uncover the secrets of the 1992 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and numismatists alike by being associated with an unbelievable value of around $8 million because of its errors and mistakes. And by the time you finish this story you will never look at a penny the same way again, because what seems like an ordinary coin at first glance can carry hidden details that transform it into a fortune. So let's go deep into why the 1992 1 cent is considered so rare, how minting mistakes happened in the United States Mint during that year, what types of errors exist on these coins, what the possibilities are for someone who finds one, and why collectors are willing to pay such astonishing sums of money for a coin that was never supposed to be anything more than a simple cent to pass from hand to hand in everyday transactions, yet through chance, error, and history it has become a treasure. Now, in order to understand why the 1992 penny is so valuable, we need to start with a bit of background. The Lincoln cent had been in circulation for decades, first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And over time design modifications occurred, but it remained the longest-running design in American coinage history by 1992. The Lincoln cent had been around for over 80 years, and the mint had already gone through several changes in composition and design. One of the biggest changes was the transition from the memorial reverse to the new Lincoln Memorial cent still being used, and collectors already knew that in years where transitions, die changes, and minting experiments took place, there was always a higher chance of mistakes slipping through. And 1992 turned out to be one of those magical years, because in that year a specific error occurred involving the design of the reverse side of the coin, the famous close AM variety. Now if you hold a 1992 penny in your hand and look closely at the back, you'll notice the words United States of America and the denomination 1 cent, and right below the word America is the phrase E pluribus unum, but the real secret lies in the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America. In most normal 1992 cents minted for circulation, the A and M are spaced apart clearly, which is referred to as wide AM. However, a few error coins minted that year, both at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, were struck with dies meant for the following year's design in which the A and M are much closer together. This is the so-called close AM variety, and that tiny difference in spacing, so subtle that the average person would never even notice, is what separates an ordinary 1 cent coin worth a penny from a multi-million-dollar treasure, because the 1992 close AM penny is one of the rarest modern varieties. Fewer than a handful have ever been discovered, and when they appear at auctions or private sales, collectors go into bidding frenzies, driving up the value into the millions. So why would something like this happen in the first place? The answer lies in the complexity of coin production at the United States Mint. Minting is not a simple process. Each coin requires specially engraved dies, the tools that stamp the design onto blank planchets, and these dies are created using hubs, which themselves carry the master design. Now, in transitional years when the mint is preparing a new design, it is not unusual for dies intended for 1 year to be accidentally paired with hubs or elements from another year, creating hybrids or unexpected varieties. In 1992, while preparing for the 1993 cents, the mint created dies with the close AM reverse, and somehow, by accident or oversight, a small number of these dies were used to strike 1992 cents, meaning that a handful of coins meant to look like normal 1992 cents actually carried the 1993 design feature, instantly creating one of the rarest errors in modern coinage. And since so few of these coins exist, their rarity drives astronomical value. Now let's think about what this means for collectors. The possibility of owning such a coin is like having a winning lottery ticket. Many coin hunters spend countless hours searching through rolls of pennies, jars of change, and bank boxes in hopes of spotting the elusive close AM, and the idea that something so small could be worth millions is what keeps the thrill alive. And beyond the close AM variety, 1992 cents also have other errors and mistakes that can add to their value. For example, off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned and part of the coin is blank, double dies, where parts of the lettering or portrait appear doubled, clip planchets where a small curved section of the coin is missing because of a cutting mistake, die cracks where lines appear across the surface from damaged dies, and even struck through errors where foreign material like grease or cloth got between the die and the planchette, leaving unusual marks. All of these errors can raise the value of a 1992 cent from a simple face value coin to hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on rarity and condition, but it is the close AM error that overshadows them all, because of the sheer rarity and demand among collectors. When we talk about the possibility of a coin reaching $8 million, it may sound unbelievable, but in the world of high-end numismatics, wealthy collectors are willing to pay staggering sums to own a piece of history, and in this case, the 1992 close AM penny represents not just a coin, but a once-in-a-lifetime mistake, a fluke of minting that slipped past the mint's careful procedures, survived circulation, and ended up in the hands of only the luckiest people. The allure is also psychological. People love the idea that something so ordinary, something that might have passed through countless hands buying candy, paying bus fares, or sitting forgotten in a coin jar, could actually be worth more than a luxury car, a mansion, or even a yacht. It represents the hidden treasures still waiting to be discovered in everyday life, and collectors are driven not just by the coin's rarity, but also by the story it tells. Now let's imagine some scenarios. You could be going through your pocket change and notice a 1992 penny. You flip it over and see the AM in America are close together instead of wide apart, and suddenly you're holding what might be an $8 million coin. But here's where things get interesting. Not every close AM cent is the same, and the condition of the coin plays a huge role. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at mint state levels, meaning they are pristine with little or no wear, can fetch the highest values, while those with circulation wear may still be valuable but not as astronomically high. The grading scale from poor to mint state 70 makes a dramatic difference, and even small details like luster, color, and surface quality can swing the price by millions. And beyond grading, provenance, or ownership history, also matters. Collectors love coins with stories. If a coin was discovered in an unusual way, or has been written about in numismatic journals, or was part of a famous auction, it can command even higher premiums. So the value of the 1992 close AM penny is not just about metal and design, but about history, rarity, psychology, and storytelling. Another fascinating possibility is that there may still be undiscovered examples out there, waiting in circulation, tucked away in piggy banks, or resting in forgotten coin collections in attics and basements, and this fuels the excitement among treasure hunters. Because unlike other collectibles, coins remain accessible. You don't need to dig for gold or climb mountains to find them. You just need to look carefully at your change, and that's why so many collectors, young and old, are captivated by the hunt. Now let's also talk about why minting errors like this are so valuable in the first place. It comes down to supply and demand. With billions of coins produced each year, only a handful escape with such dramatic errors, making them rare by definition. And when the collecting community learns about these mistakes, demand skyrockets because everyone wants to own one of the few. This imbalance between supply and demand pushes prices into the stratosphere. Add to that the human fascination with rarity, with owning something unique that few others have, and you have the perfect formula for high values. And in the case of the 1992 penny, the close AM error is the holy grail of modern cents, one of the rarest varieties ever struck. Now beyond just the close AM, the story of the 1992 penny highlights the broader theme of how human error, mechanical processes, and historical context collide in the world of coinage. The mint is a place of precision and mass production, yet no system is perfect, and in those imperfections lie the treasures. Each error coin tells a story of a moment where machinery failed, oversight occurred, or design transitions overlapped, and collectors cherish that because it captures the human side of an institution that otherwise strives for perfection. And so the 1992 penny worth $8 million is more than just a coin. It is a symbol of rarity born from error. It is a reminder that even in a world of billions of identical items, a few stand out and become legends. So as we wrap up this exploration, remember that the next time you hold a penny in your hand, especially one dated 1992, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Last, we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that surrounds a small and simple coin, the 1984 1-cent piece, which despite its humble face value of just 1 cent has become the subject of incredible attention and speculation because of its errors and mistakes, giving it a rumored worth of up to $13 million. A figure that shocks anyone who first hears it and makes them wonder how a coin that was meant to be nothing more than pocket change could somehow transform into a treasure valued at millions. And that is exactly what we are going to explore today as we break down what happened during the minting of the 1984 1-cent coin, what errors and anomalies exist within its production, why collectors go after them with such passion, and how certain combinations of mistakes have elevated specific examples of this coin to legendary status. Because when you think about it, coins are mass-produced by the billions, especially pennies, and it seems almost impossible that one could be so rare and valuable, yet history has shown time and again that minting errors can turn ordinary coins into extraordinary finds, and the 1984 cent is one of the most striking examples of this phenomenon. So let's go deep into the details and unfold the mystery behind its multi-million-dollar valuation, starting with the most famous error associated with this year, which is known as the double die obverse, a mistake where the design on the coins front appears doubled because during the hubbing process of the die that strikes the coins, a misalignment occurred and caused the details of Abraham Lincoln's portrait or certain inscriptions to appear twice slightly offset, creating a doubling effect that can be clearly seen by those who know where to look. And in the case of the 1984 cent, the double die variety is especially sought after, where Lincoln's ear appears doubled, and collectors immediately recognize this as one of the major errors of modern coinage, a mistake that instantly separates this coin from billions of other ordinary cents. And when collectors find such a variety in mint condition or even in slightly circulated condition, it commands significant premiums because of how hard they are to come by. And as the years have gone by, examples of these double die cents have become scarcer since many are lost, damaged, or still undiscovered in circulation, adding to the mystique and increasing the price people are willing to pay. And when you pair that with the fact that coin enthusiasts love error coins because they tell a story of the minting process itself, you begin to see why a single 1984 double-deer penny could attract so much attention. Now, while the double-deer is the most famous, it's not the only error tied to the 1984 cent, because minting processes are far from perfect, especially in the era when billions of cents were being made with high-speed machinery, and any number of mistakes could occur, including off-center strikes where the coin is not aligned properly with the die and the design is only partially struck, leaving part of the coin blank, which makes them unique and highly collectible, or broad strike errors where the collar that normally shapes the coin fails and the metal expands beyond the normal size, creating a distorted but fascinating piece. And then there are die cracks and die breaks where parts of the die used to strike coins begin to fail, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin, which collectors call cuds, and each of these errors can add layers of rarity and value to the coin, making it stand out even more. But what makes the 1984 cent so interesting is that it combines the allure of a well-known double die with the possibilities of these other error types. So you could have an already rare coin like the double-deer cent also struck off-center or featuring dramatic die breaks, creating an ultra-rare combination that collectors would pay enormous sums for. And when such a coin is discovered and authenticated by reputable grading services, the auction prices can skyrocket because you're no longer talking about a simple error coin but a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that exists in maybe one or two known examples. And this scarcity is what drives the multi-million-dollar valuations, because when there are only a handful of examples in existence, wealthy collectors compete aggressively to own one, pushing the price higher and higher, until it reaches figures that ordinary people can hardly believe. And this is where the story of the 1984 1-cent coin reaching a valuation of $13 million begins to make sense, because while the average 1984 penny is worth exactly 1 cent and can be found in your change, those rare few with extraordinary mistakes, preserved in pristine condition, and carrying a story that resonates through numismatic circles, are treated more like fine art than like currency, becoming treasures that collectors will hold on to as the crown jewel of their collection. And to understand why errors like these are so significant, it's important to step back and consider how coins are made, because every coin begins as a blank planchette, a small round piece of metal that is fed into the coining press where dies engraved with the coin's design strike it with tremendous force, and under normal circumstances this process is precise and consistent. But when even the smallest misalignment happens during the hubbing of the dies or the striking of the coins, errors can be created, and sometimes these are so subtle that they go unnoticed for a long time. But in other cases, like the double die of 1984, they are dramatic enough that once collectors become aware, they spread the news quickly and demand soars. And the minting history of the 1980s is full of such examples, because during this era the Lincoln cent had already transitioned from being made of mostly copper to copper-plated zinc, beginning in 1982. And the new composition was more challenging to work with, leading to even more possibilities for mistakes such as plating blisters where the copper layer separates or bubbles up, creating raised areas on the coin, or improper bonding where the zinc core shows through, each of which adds to the catalogue of errors that make 1984 cents intriguing to numismatists. And if you think about it, each error coin is like a fingerprint of the minting process, capturing a unique flaw that can never be repeated in exactly the same way. So when collectors chase these coins, they're really chasing history, and when one is deemed to be among the finest known examples, preserved untouched for decades in a way that most pennies never are, it becomes the subject of incredible bidding wars. And that is how we reach valuations like $13 million. Because the market is not only about metal content or face value but about rarity, demand, condition, and the story behind the coin. And when all of those factors align perfectly, the result is a coin that transcends its humble origins. Now imagine holding in your hand a coin that billions of others share in appearance, yet yours is unique because of a small mistake made at the mint 40 years ago, a mistake that transforms it into a treasure worth more than luxury homes, sports cars, or even other famous collectibles. And you begin to understand why people are captivated by coins like the 1984 cent, and the fascination doesn't stop with just collectors, because stories of valuable pennies spark the imagination of the general public too, leading people to check their jars of change and their pockets in hopes of finding one of these legendary errors. And while the odds are slim, the possibility exists that someone could stumble upon a coin worth millions in the most ordinary of places, and that is what keeps the legend of the 1984 1-cent coin alive. Stories of people finding rare cents in circulation or tucked away in old boxes inspire hope that anyone can be lucky enough to discover a fortune hidden in plain sight. And for the professional collectors and dealers, the thrill is in the chase, attending auctions, examining coins with magnifying glasses, studying die varieties, and hunting for that one elusive coin that could change their lives. And in the grand tapestry of numismatic history, the 1984 cent occupies a unique chapter because it represents the perfect storm of rarity, error, and desirability. And as long as coins continue to be minted by machines and humans, mistakes will always occur, but few will reach the legendary status of the 1984 double-die cent, and fewer still will combine condition, rarity, and market timing to reach values in the multimillion-dollar range, making the 1984 1-cent piece that sold for or is valued at $13 million not just a coin but a symbol of the unexpected treasures that exist in the world of collectibles. And as we wrap up our exploration of this coin, remember that while not every 1984 penny is worth more than its face value, the ones with dramatic and rare errors can be life-changing discoveries, and that is why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world, where history, art, and chance all come together in the palm of your hand. So keep an eye out for those coins in your pocket change, because you never know when you might stumble across something extraordinary. And if you enjoyed learning about the 1984 1-cent piece and its multimillion-dollar potential, make sure to stay connected with us for more fascinating stories from the world of coins and collectibles, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next exciting adventure into the hidden treasures of everyday money.